interesting conversation, nevertheless.
Oh, I'm guessing there's a few other non-football watching people out there.
Yeah, I don't really get into it a whole lot. I'm usually too busy working to watch it anyway.
Yeah, we dropped cable, I don't know, years ago, and I have not got out of my way to watch professional sports after that. So,
What's up, Jack? Every time I see his name, my mind wants to put Jack in the Box on there. It's just, how you see phrases. Football, yeah. Jack's like us. He doesn't watch it either. When
I
I
just
sit
said I
down,
don't
when
go
I
out
hear
of my way
people
to
say,
watch it.
well, when I hear people saying they sit down and watched a football game for 4 hours, I just think about how much stuff I could make in 4 hours. So it really
Fair
doesn't.
enough.
I just can't.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
South Wales, UK, across the pond over there. Elk Grove, Mr. Norbert. Well, I have news. I have news for you there, Steve.
You
After
getting
much
fired from your soap
deliberation,
opera?
the soap opera. Yeah, what was up with that? I mean, I appreciate the compliment and all, but yeah. Anyway, I don't think a soap opera would pick me up. No, I went ahead and pushed the button. I have ordered the extension kit for the P20, and yeah, and I also have ordered the stuff to make me a power bed for said P20. So I will be doing a enclosure build that I've designed in my head. I just got to put it on paper, and I'm going to be getting rid of. I've already rehomed my secondary enclosure over here. My buddy that you'll also notice if you can see it. There's another machine hanging on the wall. I had a buddy come and he upgraded his machine, and so he's got his eye on one of my other machines. But I've got to get the enclosure up and going, and I'm going to be putting the P20 with the wide body kit on it into the enclosure that I'm about to start building. As soon as I get these 8 stove covers built.
Yeah, I saw that extension kit. That's not terribly bad. It's like what, 170 or something?
179 on Amazon. That's where I ordered it from. Just the only reason I went to Amazon instead of going straight to them was it just I like dealing with Amazon. It's quicker, it's easier. If it gets here and it's all banged up, I know exactly the process. You can send it back. So I prefer Amazon most of the time.
Sure.
Personal preference. So in Roseville, California, we got a lot of folks in California watch us. They must be like is it Northern California where the like country folks live?
More so, yes.
Yeah. It's hard for me to believe any people from like LA would be interested in watching us. Me especially. You I can see. You I can see.
Okay. There's a there's a large maker influence in the Bay Area and such. So
yeah, I guess. South Georgia. Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Let everybody get in here, guys. Questions, go ahead and post them because I'm trying to watch them. Most likely California or country folks. Yeah, that's what I figured too. I mean, no, not knocking anybody that's from the cities, but they wouldn't want to sit and watch my redneck self. Houston, Texas. Now, see, that's my people right there. Houston, Georgia, North Carolina. North Carolina's you kind of pushing it there, Jack, but I'll give it to you.
Well, it's south for me.
Oh yeah. Well, everybody's south of you there, Steve, except for the Eskimos.
I'm sure some people in Maine and Canada would differ.
Michael's Fab Works. Typically, I'd get around 125. A specialty wood, like if they want oak, black walnut, or if they want like a oak / black walnut accents and stuff like that, they can go up to 150 with a standard engrave. If they go too crazy with the engrave, if I've got to design it, burn it, and the whole 9 yards, the price of the engrave goes up. So if you got really crazy, on the design, I'd have to say $200 to $250, depending. But I've got a commercial customer that I do them for, and I do a very basic build with Amazon handles, nothing special, and I get $100 a piece for them. And I can make in the afternoons when I get in from work, I can usually turn out like 3 a day. So not a bad deal. And I got about $28, $29 in materials. So it's decent, but it just takes a while. Tucson, Arizona, North Carolina, I got a lot of folks from North Carolina. All right. So Ortour cracked a lens Thursday night. Ugh. I wonder if the lens that's his buddy, did those lenses fit the Ortour, or do you know?
No, Norbert had posted this in the group as well, and I think it's said it was a LaserMaster 2 Pro, and
okay.
I'm not as familiar with those, but I think they have more of that inset barrel type thing, and might not have the cover lens, kind of similar to the original Comgro as well. And definitely noticing how even though that they get dirty and they need cleaning or replacement, those cover lenses can be a big save when that's easier to replace than, say, those integrated ones. So,
oh yeah,
but yeah,
because those lenses really don't have any focus or anything. They just basically just a clear cover.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, the original one, like your X Tool, didn't even have it on there. It was just an open sleeve.
Mm-mm.
So.
Yeah, but luckily, knock on wood, it's going on 1 year and 3 months in service. And when I say in service, I mean I use that 10 watt on every stove cover I do, and it's still kicking. All right, so there's your question right there. What do you think on that one, Steve? We've had this question once.
Yeah, well, if you're using the standard cone nozzle on the D1 Pro that it comes with, I would start around, for cutting, 20 to 30 psi, and see how you like it from there. You might need to do a little bit of playing with your environment and such, but that should be giving you enough airflow to be effective without being ridiculously blowing things around in there. As far as engraving, that's a whole nother story. You can do a lot of playing with your power and speeds with different airflow to get the same results. I like to have, enough airflow moving through to keep that positive air pressure from causing the issues on the lenses, with the smoke and the debris getting back up there. But you can go really light with it. But if you have a powerful laser, you can actually increase your airflow and still get a decent burn with higher power and speed as well. So what's your thoughts?
Well, I'm kind of like what we talked about last time. I wouldn't stress so much about PSI at the regulator as much as I would the flow that's coming out the nozzle itself, because if you're looking at the pressure regulator, where the regulator is, you don't know the diameter of the hole that's being bled through. So it's more about, in my opinion, it's more about volume of air with just enough pressure to kind of move dust out of the way. So I would just I'd be honest with you, I couldn't tell you how many PSI mine are set to. The way I do it is I turn the air on and I put my finger over the nozzle, and I just get it to the point to where it feels like it's going to be adequate. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll set up a really long, slow burn, and then I'll let that thing burn. And on one side of it, I'll let it run one air pressure, then crank it down a couple of PSI, let it do the other side, and then crank it down. And just look at the results. Look at how clean the cut is. Look at whether or not you're getting better penetration. And just dial it in based on the results you're getting, not necessarily the PSI or the pressure that somebody else told you to use. I'm big on proofing my own data before I go to using it. So, my condolences there, Norbert. That's terrible. 11 days after the warranty ran out. Was it a Chevrolet? Okay, this is gonna be this is you. This is CO2. Is that crackling on my end or is that on your end, Steve?
I'm hearing it. I don't know.
Where's it coming
Lowest
from?
power that can engrave brick pavers. That's going to a little bit depend on the type of brick pavers you're using, but honestly, you should still be able to engrave them even with a 40-watt CO2. I played around with a variety of different stone and such on my 60-watt, and I didn't need all the power to do it. Really, on some of those natural materials, stone and even glass, if you use too much power with the CO2, instead of kind of getting it engraved, you start fracturing it more, and you're getting more little micro abrasions and such on there. So really, a 40-watt should give you plenty to work with brick pavers as well. Now, if you're going for a real deep engrave, that might be different, but doesn't need a lot of power for that.
Got a few rocks. I would think it would be similar to slate as far as the power settings. I would imagine. Jack said there
Yeah, it
are
can be.
special bricks that engrave nicely. Didn't know they made engravable bricks. That's new. Let's see which way do I need to go. I need to get over a little bit.
So with Norton white tile, it'll depend on your laser setup. If it's your typical diode where you have an air assist on it and it's a cone style and it is sitting mere millimeters above your material, you're going to want that air assist on for a bit, because otherwise you're going to get some of the material flashing back and it will have a chance to clog up your nozzle, which will then ruin your engrave. If you've got a CO2 that's got a longer focal length to it and it's further away, you could possibly get away with it, because you shouldn't be getting a lot of smoke or debris out of Norton white tile. But when using the diodes, I've noticed on a couple of mine, they do tend to get that kind of, the paint debris and such kind of gets mucked up on the cone if it's too close.
Yeah, I always, my rule. If my laser is working, I've got at least some air coming through that nozzle to keep the lens clean. And that's why after a year and 3 months of running lasers so far, even on my 20-watt, my 20-watt's got the same lens it came with. So drag chains, cable, air hose. Oh yeah, plenty of experience with cable management. I think on both of our parts. Uh, I know I've put drag chains on 2 different machines, 3 if you count the Monport modifications I did. Uh, it depends on the cables. I don't have any kind of drag chains or anything on my D1 Pro. I just trained the cables to get out of the way, and once I did that, I hadn't any problems with my enclosure the way I've got it built. What about you, Steve?
So I've used a lot of drag chains on other machines. I haven't put any on a lot of the smaller diodes, primarily because if I did that, I'd really want to swap out the wiring. That's one of my complaints on these, is they use a very stiff, brittle wiring on these. And with drag chains, they tend to curl the wires more. And so you want to make sure you have some flexible, like a silicone-based braided wire would be best for these. And the stuff they use is just so rigid that it doesn't like to move around a lot. So that would be my concern, is if I had a machine that I really wanted it on, I would probably look at remaking the wiring harnesses myself out of some better wire, put it in there. They're fairly easy to use. You just have to really support, your both your ends, and you might need to, in some cases, on like my larger CNC machines, I'll make sure I have a bit of a tray that the chain will kind of lay into, so it doesn't want to slide side to side so much. But they are really good at what they do. They're pretty lightweight. You just need to have a mounting point on both sides, and generally you might need a little bit of extra wire depending on how the wire was run on some of these. They get pretty stingy on any extra.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest complaints with most of the diodes is if you would just give me like 3 inches more wire. Just 3 inches. 3 inches on the gantry, 3 inches on the main run. It would 6 inches of wire. It would be a game changer because it would allow you to do other things with cable management and run those things a little different. But they all want to make them, I swear, within a half inch of exactly how long they have to be.
Yeah, and it doesn't help because then you can't even really add any strain relief on those cables, and that's where you end up getting those pins coming loose or wires breaking at the points. Is they don't have the strain relief, and they're flexing right there. So
yeah, but yeah, that's one of my, like I said, that's one of the things that. Which now I'm going to be honest with you, the last couple of machines I've got in, it seems that they're doing a little better on giving us some extra, but not a whole lot. Or it's clear off. I have no idea, Jeff.
it could be just internet traffic and encoding between the two. YouTube's good at trying to throttle and do some caching as well, whereas some of their streaming services will just pixelate a lot higher. So
yeah, well, I will say that we're streaming from one software to both platforms, so it should be the same. If there is any differences, it's going to be like Steve said on the back end, some of the software with the companies. Hopefully it'll work itself out, and it may be one of those things where they're streaming it in standard definition instead of HD because they're not getting it encoded right. But I think they didn't they update our streaming software too, Steve? Because we got this new QR code thing.
Yeah, constant updates. It's software as a service for you.
But guys, if you hadn't already, I'm gonna throw this out there because me and Steve are both working on getting our subscriptions and likes and all that stuff up. So if you haven't liked on Facebook or YouTube, whichever, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and knock that out for us, please. The more traffic we get, the better off we are as far as being able to test out equipment and stuff like that, especially because the bigger our audience, of course, the more folks that they think will be able to see their machines and so forth. So it's always a help. But on the topic, Steve, how did you get your Atezr straightened out? I know you had a little hiccup in the beginning. Did you get that working?
Yeah, I had a weird issue where when I always try to let Lightburn auto detect it to see what it does, and one of the tricks to that is if you have an existing profile on there and it's already sitting on, under your devices, it'll say the laser profile and then whatever COM port it is. I find it's more successful if you change your COM port to choose before you do the auto detect. So anyway, I did that and it did detect the laser, but the first thing that I noticed was odd was it came up by a 10 millimeter by 10 millimeter laser. I'm like, well, that's weird. So I just went in and adjusted that. But then as I'm trying to use it, I'm getting hardly any power, and half the time it would frame in the center and then it would go off to the side, and I'm starting to look into the Gerbil settings and such, trying to figure out what's up. And I had even asked Clack here, I'm like, hey, can you send me your profile because something is messed up in mine? And old adage, just wipe and reload. That's what I did. I destroyed the profile in Lightburn, had to redetect it. This time it saw it's 430 millimeter square machine, fired right up, and it was it was cutting fine. So fine, actually, that when I ran my first power test today, it was a little hot. And so
yeah, hey, it's a game changer for sure. Yeah, I was wanting you to say that you had to have me send you my config file to get it working, but you didn't. You didn't fall for that. But no, I auto detected mine, but I guess I got lucky and had it on select port when I did mine because it popped up 430 by 430. I just hit next, and then I did have to go in and fix the pointer and the settings for the pointer and everything. But I have been slaying 3/4 inch pine with that thing, so that's why I decided to go ahead and buy the extension. I'm gonna build a whole new enclosure. I've actually got the parts coming to do me a movable bed. So hopefully I'll be able to mount the laser in, and I'll be able to raise and lower the bed at will, so that when I'm doing bigger objects or tumblers or whatever. I've got a little bit of logistics I got to work out on making sure the bed stays flat and level, but I think I can figure that out. So we're gonna see what all my parts gets here, but I did order the extension, so I will have me a extended Atezr 24-watt machine here shortly.
Yeah, the thickest that I've cut with mine so far was this piece of, this is about 1/2 inch cedar, and it went through it just fine. And actually I was able to get it through, it's 400 millimeters a minute, 2 passes, and it dropped out clean. There was, well, I should say there was just one little speck where, you know, you get like the grain variation that it was holding on at that speed. But yeah, super clean front and back on that cut, just a little smudge there and on the back. So, you know, for 1/2 inch cedar, that's pretty good. I, however, was not able to get through 3/4 inch Home Depot cheap sanded plywood. This was 6 passes, 300 millimeters a minute, and it was getting ready to start another fire, so I stopped it. But yeah, that's plywood. I mean, all those layers of glues.
Yeah, plywood's like 80% glue anyway. It's tough. I have a heritage type font bundle with graphics. Do you think I can import them into Lightburn? I've never tried to do that. Have you, Steve?
So with fonts, I'm usually installing them as a system font with Windows, and then Lightburn should pick it up on it. As far as with graphics, it would, you know, it would depend on how it exports them. I haven't, you know, if there's typical SVG type graphics, then yes, you should be able to import them as a library, but depends on what format they come in.
Flood fill. Go ahead. I'll let you give your take on that one. Mine may be lengthy on flood fill. Still hearing that crackling.
So on occasion, now if I'm thinking of this right, I've had it where, you know, it's jumping around trying to fill the areas and such, and it feels like it'll miss a line or two, and I can't find a rhyme or reason as to why, because sometimes I'll rerun it and it'll do just fine. So that could just be a missed step. You know, the controller sending the stepper motor information, and it goes one step too far, you're going to get a thin line. But I just have to know a little bit more what types of issues you might be having on that.
Yeah, the one thing that I will say with flood fill is not always going to help you. Sometimes it'll hurt you. So I like to preview different designs using different settings, because a lot of times flood fill will actually increase your engrave time instead of decreasing it, depending on the white space and the way the graphic is set to burn. I'm not sure what Norbert's talking about on this. Hey, the crackling quit.
Might be confusing that with, no, I'm not hearing the crackling, but so I actually posted a video today on the Jacoda laser, and that one has the coiled cable. That wasn't quite the Atezr machine yet. But that was one nice thing on that, is that instead of just the loose cables that are in like the alligator, snakeskin, whatever skin sleeve, they have it coiled up so that it can expand a bit, but as it contracts, it pulls back and helps keep it a bit out of the way, which is kind of nice. So that also tends to be a little more of that kind of silicone type wiring as well. So they did a nice job on that, at least without going full on cable chain. But yeah,
I was gonna say, my Atezr didn't come with a twisted.
Yeah, no. On the fill, a lot of times what I do, especially if they're vector graphics and such, you can also use the option to fill. You can do it in groups, and so I'll try to group them together in areas that are the same, so it eliminates the white space jumping, but then it'll still do it, you know, kind of top to bottom or left to right, however you have your scan angle set up. And so that's an option when trying to play around with your fill settings.
Right, there's your one.
So yeah, fill groups together. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, you can do all of them at the same time, groups together, or individually. That's the 3 options under that tab. There's your
Flood fill
question.
is not
Flood
the
fill.
same as offset fill. Offset fill is more of I relate it to like how a CNC router will do a pocket, and so it will start either on the inside or the outside and work out more in like a circular pattern, kind of that doing the outline in or out, whereas flood fill tries to find the most. It'll find chunks and do that, but it'll jump around avoiding the white space. So
1/2-inch plywood, Steve. Have you tried any? I don't have any laying around to try.
So here's one thing I did. This is 1/4-inch Baltic birch. So it's not quite 1/2 inch, but it is 5 layers of harder wood. So this tends to be harder to cut through. On this side is just single pass, and it didn't get through any of it. Over here is almost the same. I bumped it down just from 300 to 600 instead of 350 to 650. So this was 2 passes, and it was cutting through that, just doubling up the passes, and that was okay. I haven't tried any 1/2-inch plywood. I do have some here, so I'll be running that through. But again, it's going to depend on the type of plywood, because, for example, this is 1/4-inch junky plywood.
MDF. Oh,
This is cabinet grade plywood, and the difference is starting a fire and not even getting through it. So
yeah, that is 3/4-inch pine right there, or 19.3 millimeter pine. I just cut that today. A buddy of mine come over and wanted to see it do some lifting, and so I cut a circle out of some pine, and you can see that's the top edge, and it's turned out really good. Now, of course, down near the bottom, you're going to start to get out of focus. You're going to get that kind of bad looking charring at the bottom. But for 3/4-inch pine, set to surface focus, that's pretty good, in my opinion. I'm kind of thinking that I might want to get my hands on one of their 35-watt models. So if I can run across one. Hang on, what is this here?
you start getting that deep, you start getting into CNC territory, unless you need super tight lines.
Yeah, but
Just got to put my plug in every week.
Yeah, but I like it. Just got the belt tensions correctly out of the box. The only adjustment I had to do, and I can't speak for Steve because we haven't discussed it, but the only adjustment that I had is the little. No, that wasn't on the 8s. Yeah, it was on the Atezr up top. You'll see that little slot in the middle of the gantry. It's got the 2 wrenches crossed on it. The only adjustment I had to make is the gantry was a little tighter than I liked it when I first got it. And so I had to reach in there and that, I'm going to say this wrong, eccentric wheel? Is that what they call that?
Yep.
I had to adjust it slightly, just slightly, to get it. What you want is you want a good tight movement, but you don't want it too tight. And so I just had to slightly adjust that. The belts, I left them the same. I did check them as I was putting it together. I did the 45 tilt test, and it was acceptable in my opinion. And so I went ahead and went ahead with the install. But then once I got it together, I noticed the gantry was a little too hard to move by hand. And so I went and adjusted that one little wheel on the gantry, and that was it. That's all I had to adjust. How about your experience there, Steve?
I had the same thing. I had to adjust the eccentric on the gantry to get that moving okay. And I was trying to remember. I think the belts are pretty close. I may have done a little plane just to check. As I was testing the other one, I was sliding both sides, just trying to see where the sweet spot was to get that smooth movement without a lot of slack. So I think they're pretty close. But again, yeah, you just kind of you want to adjust them until it moves smooth without a lot of jumping, a lot of resistance. You want it to slide down gently at about a 45-degree angle, then you're pretty close. So it's really easy to adjust that on this one. So I was pretty happy with that. Anytime they have those kind of screw-in adjusters versus the ones where you got to kind of just pull on the belt and tighten the nut down, those I'm used to those, but they can be kind of finicky on these lighter weight machines.
Yeah. The one thing too that I really like, and it may not be a big deal to some folks, and it's taken me some getting used to, but they have a much larger handle and a much larger bolt that controls the Z-axis and locks the laser head in place. And I know I haven't had a problem with it, but I know a lot of people have had problems with on the X tool, burring up the dovetail that causes it to kind of hang when you're trying to adjust the Z-axis. I like the design of the Atezr better in that aspect because basically it's a flat piece of a bolt pressing into a flat, part of the dovetail. So there, I don't see any potential for damage. Plus, it's a more significant bolt, so you don't have to tighten it as tight to get it to hold still. And I like that part of the design a lot better than what I'm used to seeing in some of the other machines.
Yeah, I just wish it wasn't on the back.
Yeah, that's taking some getting used to, but it's better. Because I got to thinking, I was like, well, there's really, unless they could figure out how to put it on the top, and that would get in the way of the belts. I mean, that was really the best place to put it, I guess.
The Atom Stack A20, it's got a big knob, fairly large bolt, and it's right in the front of the module as well. So that makes it very easy to get at. Whereas, this one's not bad. I like that it's a big knob. It's easily reached from the top. The Sculpt Fun machines, they've got 2 small or 4 small on the back. Anytime you have multiples and they're small that you got to tighten down, that gets to be a little bit of a pain. So it is nice though. Yeah, I don't like it when it has that bolt kind of digging into that dovetail angle. So,
well, good night there, Petey, or have a good game or whatever you're going to do. I love my 2 trees. Yeah, I haven't seen the 2 trees yet. Oh, and I'm going to be honest with you. The way the Atezr is built and as heavy as it is and everything, it wouldn't surprise me for them to eventually come up with a Z-axis for the machine. Oh, I don't know if the controller can do it or not, but it's a very nice machine. I'm pleased with it so far. Not going to call it beating out my 20-watt D1 yet, but it's a close race. It does have more power than my 20-watt. Despite the fact that my 20 watts on shop air, I'm able to cut 4.5 or 4.9. I'm going to say 3 millimeters per second faster with the Atezr than I can with the X tool. I haven't seen the Atezr tall legs yet, so I may have to check into that. I haven't even seen them on the internet. But what are you talking about? Do they have aftermarket legs for that thing that I haven't seen yet? Have you seen them, Steve?
Do they? Thought maybe I saw some somewhere.
But I don't know. I haven't got those yet, so I couldn't say. I made it to work with the legs that come on it. The P10 is the P10 is the same machine. So if you find out, let me know. I don't know how the legs are built. I didn't have a set of those handy.
Yeah, the P10 has kind of some taller optional. I don't know if they're optional or they just come with it, but they're kind of just a corner leg as well, similar to the short ones on the 20.
Yeah, as long as the base of them's the same, it should work.
They just come down to a narrower point.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
As long as it's a 90-degree angle on the points, it should still work though, because if you have a 90-degree, if it's got that 90-degree point, then as long as both of them are in the 90-degree point, then yeah, it should work. As long as they're not spaced out or anything. Oh, that was a booger trying to get all those cuts lined up and make sure it worked too. and it's tight, very tight tolerances. I sent you the file, didn't I, Steve, to try with yours? Have you cut it out yet? No.
No, I don't think you sent it yet. You were tweaking it when
Oh,
you talked.
okay. Yeah, remind me, and I'll get you that where you can try it out. Let you do a review of it. Oh. All right, guys. Somebody said we were better than the halftime show. I don't know. I don't know what's on the halftime show, but
So 40 watt diode versus a 40 watt CO2, is the power the same? Uh, yes and no. So when they're reading the optical, when they test these, they're looking for an optical output of the laser beam, and so yes, it's putting out 40 watts of optical power. However, you got to remember that the wavelength of the beam is going to interact with material in different ways, and they're still going to interact with different materials the same or different. So having a 40 watt diode isn't going to do anything for you on things like clear acrylic and such. The other difference is that the diodes have a fixed focal length on them for most of these lenses, whereas most of the CO2s, you can swap out your lenses. You can adjust your focal length to have a deeper cut but a wider kerf. And so you can do some tweaking on there. So you have a little more flexibility with that power in the CO2 laser than you do with the diode. It's also coming from one tube versus the 40 watt diode is still technically 6 individual diodes combined together to make that 40 watt output. So I wouldn't call it apples to apples. Raw power, it's fairly similar in some of your natural materials and such, but there's still going to be some differences that you're going to notice between them.
I agree. Oh, and I also have me a modification I'm fixing to do to my Mon port, so I can start using it more because that's the CO2s, especially this one, the Mon port, works great as long as whatever you're putting in there is exactly the right thickness so that the focus works out. But I need it to have either a movable bed or either be able to adjust the focus. So I've decided to engineer myself a movable bed inside it. So I got those parts coming too. I just got to get time to do all these projects. I got too many projects, not enough time. Can you show? Ooh, you got your Atezr sitting close by, Steve?
I don't know if I can reach my camera to it.
Give me a minute and I can get my GoPro set up. But I'm just going to have to sit this big old guys. I am not a small person, by the way. If you've never seen one of these, but let me get this set up in the floor over here. See if I can get my GoPro to work.
So yeah, Brian was asking earlier too. Are your cables hanging inside the frame after the cable holders under the side rail, or are your cables on the outside before going into the gantry? I haven't really looked to tweak the cabling too much, but I have noticed that on the back side, it does kind of catch inside the way it's bent. And so it's underneath and kind of sticking in.
I may have ran mine different than yours, Steve, because I actually examined how I wanted to run it extensively before I did it, and then went back and even tweaked it a little more afterwards. Let's see if I can get this camera to work. See, the one time I don't hook the GoPro up, and now I need it. Let's see if we can get it to work. Keep the questions answered while I'm doing my IT work here.
For one's in suspense, what you're going to show.
Well, I've got the camera pointed away from me for now. Remember last time I couldn't get it to work because of my other software was bogarting it. Hang on. I'll have to close this. This may kill me altogether. I'll be right back if it does.
Oh, okay. Let's see here. This camera's disappeared. Yeah, every single machine running those tests on various materials definitely you can kind of use them. So like when I'm testing this Atezr, I've got the Atom Stack A20 Pro that is fairly close, and so I've been kind of referencing those as a starting point. But like I showed earlier, I this one just burned too hot on this material, so that's why working through some of those tests and being diligent with it is definitely going to help.
Yeah, my
So
audio goes off. My audio goes off when I turn that camera off. All right, so this
yeah,
is the way I've got mine ran, and it goes along the back of the gantry to
oops,
right
get
here.
that out there.
Yep, that's right, guys. But it goes along the back of the gantry right here, and then I went from the top here around to underneath, and that has worked well for me. When the machine is functioning, I'm not having any problems with anything hitting or catching or anything like that. I did use up all of the little pieces that they gave. Do I need to turn this sideways? Does it matter?
Yeah, it auto rotated at
But
one point.
yeah, my bad. But that's the way I've got mine. I started in the middle, right there behind the little wrench. Put the first holder, and then I added two holders here and one there, and just came around. And these actually start about midpoint of the frame. So, and I haven't had any problems. They stay out of the way and haven't given any issues. So that's what I'm. Look, I don't know how that auto rotation. I'll just have to turn the auto rotate off on this guy, and I don't know how to do it when it's in webcam mode. But yeah, hope that answers your question. Big old hole on that test. What'd I miss?
Oh, I was just showing my. It was this.
Oh yeah, that was your fire. Did you have your safety equipment
This
nearby?
fire is a bit extreme. It was a smoldering chunk
No.
of wood.
No, when you have heat produced by the consumption of a material that results in smoke, that's fire, bro. That's fire. Whether it's visible or not, if it had been in an oxygen rich environment, it could have been an explosion.
Don't tell that to my insurance agent.
Yeah. Did you have to pay extra coverage for all that? There you go. Right there. That's some Steve. This y'all get ready because Steve is about to go like complete nerd on y'all. But here he's going to answer this question.
So honestly, that really is going to your tube manufacturer, if they're of any value, would have put a sticker on the CO2 tube that shows the test ratings, what it's rated at, and what its maximum milliamp rating should be. That is not true on all of them, especially on some of the ones that come with the machines. They'll get just kind of a generic sticker that might just say, this is a 40-watt tube or this is a 50-watt tube and such. I will say on my 60-watt CO2 with a SPT tube, the tube is rated at a maximum rating of 22 milliamps. So that is 80% power from my 60-watt power supply gets that tube running at that 22 milliamps. So, on a 50-watt, 70%, hopefully you're under 20 because those are probably topping out at maybe 18, 19, something like that for their max power rating. Might be up in the 20s for a 50-watt. But then again, it's going to depend on your power supply because sometimes the power supplies are, at 100% are overdriving the tube. So like I say, 80% on my power supply is actually the 100% of the power that should be going to that tube, and that ended up being 22 milliamps. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, like I said, on some of the tubes, I've noticed they don't have those ratings on there, and it's really frustrating. So
There you have it, guys. I told y'all. He starts talking those numbers. But yeah.
So 40 watt diodes losing the engraving cleanness. In theory, you have a larger and probably less square and more rectangular focal point with them. And so in theory, you're going to lose a little bit of clarity. In practice, on most natural materials and such, you're probably not going to notice it. So it really going to kind of come down to your file then. Vector type graphics, they should still be fairly crisp. Where you're getting into your photorealistic ones, like, hold on there. I think I have it here. Maybe. Oh, this is the one I dropped. So this being a vector, it's single power, and this is on this was on a 10 watt. You still get some fine details. Where you might start noticing things is, when you get those really fine points on, the tail or the claws, you might start seeing a little bit there. And then this is more of your photorealistic kind of engraving, where it's doing more pixelated type stuff. And that's where the theory is you would lose it. Now, on a piece of wood like this that has natural fibers and wood grain, I don't think you're going to notice it. Where you might notice it is possibly on a polished and sanded slate, or your white tile, stuff like that. But
MDF tends to not show grain. I did learn that.
Yeah, that one's more consistent than others, but it's still, it's just basically a bunch of fibrous sawdust glued together. So yeah, it's even less consistent. But
I've been playing with a little bit of it here lately, and it did a pretty good job. Nice hat, horrible. Steve, you're getting all those compliments on your wardrobe tonight.
I know. Well, hey, it's
somebody's
getting closer to spring training.
They complimented your hat, your hoodie.
So I don't proactively watch pro sports, but I do follow them and such. And as a good Minnesotan, I'm very masochistic in supporting my teams that seem to not like to win any sort of national championships. So I was a kid last time that the Twins won the World Series. So
okay, somebody done went and asked the question. Width and details of the D1 versus the ComGrow 20. That one I can answer for you guys. I haven't done this with the Atezr yet, but if I can get them both in there. That is the detail difference between the Atezr and the X-Tool. Both are 20 watt machines. This is the exact same photo running the exact same settings. Now, I actually used the Kintalk to do it today, which is only a 5.5 watt, and got that right there. So, since y'all asked, hair looks good tonight. Okay, come on, Brian. Just y'all killing me. Steve getting all those compliments, and then I'm just getting mercy killings. My hair looks the same as it always does. It's slightly messed up from wearing headphones, but I appreciate you trying, though. It does mean a lot to me that you're trying. You're going to build an enclosure to include your extension kit. How many enclosures do you have? Yes, Jeff, I'm going to have to. I don't know if y'all saw my short on comparing the X-Tool and the Atezr, but nothing I got will hold this Atezr, especially when my extension kit gets here. So yes, I will be building a new enclosure. It is going to have several upgrades from my old enclosures, including a bed that will raise and lower electrically. I've got the parts coming, waiting on everything to get here, and whenever it gets here, hopefully I can make it work correctly, because I've got a lot of money invested in parts, so we'll see. But give me a second. I'm gonna burn something right quick while we talk. So I'm gonna let you answer questions for a second, Steve.
Yeah, that's one thing with the Atezr is that it is 28 inches front to back, and so it's just big enough that it doesn't want to normally fit into even some of the commercial fabric enclosures that both Clack and I have. But I am able to shoehorn the Atezr into the big Comgrow one by blocking it up around the base frame, those poles. So I'm able to kind of run it for now that way. Just barely squeezing it. I had to pull the front screen off that I don't ever use anyway, the touch screen for the offline engraving. But yeah, I'll be curious to see how those rails go. May consider extending that one. It just kind of depends on which. I've got the Atom Stack. I've got this one. I do have the Sculpfun S30 Pro Max, which is their 20 watt in the box. Once I get done testing this Atezr, that one will be on the bench. So I can see doing an extended one, and then of course having to make an enclosure for it. So we'll let Clack do half the design work first, and then we'll just steal all the ideas from him.
I was going to say it's definitely going to be coming. I have already made up my mind on that. I do like the machine so far. So, all right, I'm going to bring that in. 100 millimeters per second at 100. We'll go ahead and set this image up. And gonna turn the machine on, guys. Oh. Woo. Multitasking. I got to get used to this e-stop button too, by the way. Keep an eye out, especially if you're moving that machine around. If you hit that e-stop button, it won't work.
Well, it's doing its job.
Yeah, it definitely works. Let me frame that out.
You just got to get around the cables to actually hit it.
Yeah. Well, I've got this thing set on the floor over here. I'll tell you another thing. The workspace is so much bigger. It's a little deceiving when you look at the image size on Lightburn.
Yeah.
Because all right. Kind of working while we talk here.
Question is your hoodie laser rated?
Yes, it is. That's why it's orange. It blocks lasers. All right, 100 millimeters a second, 100% output. Yep. There we go. Yeah. In a few minutes, I will have this done with the Atezr over here in the floor. So let me swap my little camera over here on. Yeah, see guys, putting in the work for you guys. Putting in the work. Oh, that's MDF too. That stuff's not nice to be around.
No.
But anyway, yeah, okay, I'm safe. I can't see it from up here. All right, did I miss anything while we wait on that to finish? If I could stand it. Order the extension kit for the Atom Stack. Well, Steve's got the 20 watt Atom Stack. I tried getting him to drop ship it over here, but he wouldn't do it. So I had to wait till I got the Atezr to get another 20 watt. Hey, I got this one machine in today that I was playing with, the 5.5 watt Kintalk tool. I am very tempted to take the 20 watt Z1 Comgrow and put on there, but I just don't want to. I don't want to do that. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Brian. My glasses. Yeah, y'all are killing me with this. If I was sensitive, I'd be crying right now. Luckily, I'm not.
Yeah, he just cries when the cameras go off.
I was impressed that the 12 by 19 fits the 12 by 19. What's he talking about? A honeycomb?
Yeah, the honeycomb bed, because he was mentioning that is a great size for the Atezr. 600 by 590.
Yeah. Is it complaints or compliments? No, Max can't come out here. Max is trespassed from the shack because here at the Clack Hill we have designated areas for all the animals. This is the cats area, and Max does not cohabitate well with cats. He has to stay in the yard. I've got an invisible fence that keeps him in there, but he's got a broke leg right now, so he is probably laying on the floor in front of the fireplace. Somehow the dog managed to break one of the bones. Like a dog's foot is kind of like this, but it has 4 bones across there. And somehow he managed to break laterally one of the inner bones in his foot and dislocated his knee, or his ankle, I guess it would be.
Ouch.
So we went to the vet, and they put him on a bunch of medicines because his leg swelled up. It looked like it was a cow leg. I mean, it was huge. And so they put him on a bunch of medicines, x-rayed him, which he did not enjoy being x-rayed because we had to flip him up on his back and like make him do the splits and stuff. And they didn't want to put him under if they didn't have to. So we wound up, they said that the extent of the injuries they don't think is bad enough to require surgery. At his age, they really don't want to do surgery. So basically he's on light duty, just kind of hopping around with 3 legs, hoping that it gets better, taking a bunch of medicines, which I have mastered giving the dog meds. You just wrap it in ham, pitch it up in the air, and it disappears. So I have no idea how he broke it. He was in the house, on and off that night, went outside, woke up the next morning to go to work, and when he went to get in the truck, he was limping. So I don't know. I don't know what happened, unless he got his leg, like, my female rogue, she's just as big as he is. So I don't know if they tied up fighting and he spun on it funny or what, but he is under the weather right now. But he's not hurting because he's in the house right now, in the bedroom, watching TV with my wife. So what are your thoughts on the new V35? Penny, I want one. That's all I know to tell you. What do you think, Steve?
I mean, the thing, I think is it a direct drop onto the P20 frame?
It is the same frame, different module. The extensions are cross-compatible between the 20 and the 35. Done my research.
Yeah, no, I would, I'd love to play around with one. That's where I'm really curious of, at some point you're going to have diminishing returns on just combining diodes together to make the power in the beam. So I'd be curious at what level we reach that. But if you're looking to do a lot of cutting and want to speed it up, great. If you're wanting to cut thicker things, it'll get you probably a little more thicker, but it's not like going to double your capacity for cutting. There's the focal distance of those diodes just kind of goes out of focus, so you're throwing more power at it, but it's still spreading out about the same distance. So if you're looking for speed versus more thickness, then yeah, I think it's definitely going to be an upgrade that some people are looking at. But the thing I go back to is you start getting into these machines that have those 40-watt diodes, and you're getting into $2,000 machines and such in some cases, and there's still some benefits to a diode over a CO2 for the portability and the lower maintenance per se on it, but you're starting to get into the price range where you might want to be considering a CO2 laser at that point.
I thought I saw this earlier, but I may have missed it. But yeah, thanks there, Crafter. I hope he gets better, because if it doesn't heal, I'm going to be honest with you, I know what they're going to want to do with that leg. And I really don't want to see that. But, whatever. Plate of glass. I probably wouldn't use glass under the wood necessarily, because if you have wood under glass and you fire a diode laser at that wood, or at that glass, it's going to go straight through there and then burn whatever is under the glass. So if you want to put something under there to help catch little pieces of material or whatever, I would recommend using something like maybe either a ceramic tile, or just go get you a cheap little cookie pan or something like that. Some kind of thin metal. I think would be more suitable for that. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, so this is where utilizing a honeycomb bed and having it just elevated a little bit and having like a metal sheet under there works really great. More so, the way I design my enclosure is I can take that front panel off. I've got a piece of just sheet metal under there. I slide that out, or I run the vacuum in there and it picks up all the little pieces. And that's assuming they're small enough to fall through the honeycomb. Otherwise, they stay on top, and even then, sometimes I just pull the piece up and run the shop vac to suck up all the little bits and such. Yeah, glass, you got to remember, it's going to go straight through that. It'll catch it, and it won't really necessarily hurt the glass unless it's got debris and stuff on it. But I would go with just a dull piece of sheet metal, not galvanized, mind you, but just some regular aluminum or regular steel. Be fine on that.
Or, JD,
steal a cookie sheet.
Yeah, JD, the jig kit, I don't know if you've used it on any other machines, but to me, I can't go without it. And that's why every time I get another machine, there's another one that gets created, is because I just, it makes life so much easier. But yeah, but now I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna play with this Atezr, the 20, and my plan was that if I bought the extensions, then, if I decided later on that I just wanted to purchase myself one of their 35 watt modules, that I would be able to take the extensions off of the 20 and put them on the 35. And so that's kind of where I'm leaning. So I'm waiting right now to see how things go. I may run the 24, because I'm going to be honest with you, the 24, the 20 watts that I have cut everything that I need to cut for what I do with my engraving. The 24, I think, is probably going to be even better, because I can still cut the same material, but just a little faster. So I don't know that I want to go up to a 35 watt, but if I did, the Atezr, the V35, I guess they're calling it, would definitely be a good option. I'm okay with the X tool, and I'm going to make a prediction and say that within the next 4 months, they're going to release a task-built specific 40 watt machine, kind of like they did with the 20. Because they usually will release the module as an upgrade, and then a few months later, they're going to release a whole machine that is specifically built around that 40 watt module. And if they do that, I'm hoping they increase the size of the chassis, because the problem that I have is the bigger the module on a D1, the smaller your workspace, because those modules keep getting bigger. But with the Atezr, they went up to a 430 by 430 platform. And so even with the larger module, you still got the 430 by 430, which is, bigger than any of my X tools. So that was kind of a big deal in my opinion. Oh, look, it's finished, guys. We can see what it does on photos.
Well, you should just use your war machine for all those longer things.
Sure. Well, I'm going to play with that thing, but I'm still worried about how accurate it's going to be without some kind of like tracks, which I'm going to build some tracks for it too. So, all right, guys, let's see. Ooh.
Yeah, you need to like run that on an 8, or rip down a piece of plywood 8 feet long and see how it is by the end.
So there we go. I probably should have run it a little hotter, but that's the X Tool D1, and there's the Atezr. So the X Tool looks like it burned a little hotter, but as far as resolution goes, it's very close. That one's a little spottier, I think. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's pretty good results. So there you go. Wouldn't have hurt to have run it a little faster, maybe, or a little slower. I'm pretty sure I did 100 and 100 on the other machines, but yeah, there you go. So it actually does pretty well on photographs. And of course, there's the Atezr Comgrow. So yeah, so yeah, it passes my test for photos as well. Pizza pan cooling rack. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, no, it doesn't need to be expensive and fancy. So, did we answer Penny's comment question?
Which throw it up.
The one that you have
see
on the
it, throw it
screen
up.
right now. It's on the screen right
Oh.
now. It says all I need to cut. You
Oh,
threw
yeah,
it
yeah,
up
yeah.
there. I wasn't sure if you're going to comment on that.
My bad. I squirreled when I heard
Yeah.
the machine home itself over here. No, that is not my wife. That's actually some picture I got out of the archives or something off of what is it, the National Archives or something. I just downloaded a black and white photo. That way, there's nothing other than just downloading it off the internet. It gets burned straight that way. All I need to cut is a 1/4 inch and just want to score my design. Problem is the size of the working area more than anything. What machine are you talking about there, Penny? And what size work area would you need? If Penny didn't leave.
Yeah, well, she was asking about the new V35, and so yeah, there again, if you're looking for working area, quarter inch plywood, a 10-watt can, 20-watt obviously is going to do it a little bit better. So, but definitely looking at a lot of the lasers have extension kits to them. I know like SculptFun has their, what is it, like 930 square, but the thing that I get concerned about that is they're using that 20 by 20 extrusion, and I just can't see that being very sturdy at that size. Whereas, the X Tool and the Atezr, they've got more of that C-channel style custom extrusion that they're using that's a little more stout. I would be far more trusting of that to hold up in the longer lengths. So,
yeah, the Atezr's chassis is definitely not going to be given any because it's more of a C, like you said, a C channel. Let's see, 430. What is 430 millimeters in inches? Let me check that out. Okay, so 430 by 430, Penny. That's what this machine is advertised as far as the work area. That's in the standard formation, the square style. And that comes to be 16.929 inches, which means the largest possible circle that you could cut with this machine in its current configuration would be 16.929 inches. Now, I would probably just keep it at 16. That way it gives you a little bit of margin of error so that you don't have to worry about it, bumping the edges or whatnot. But if you're wanting to do anything bigger than a 16-inch circle, you would have to have a double extended machine to go any bigger than that, which means both the X and Y axis would have to be stretched. Now you could do 16 by, I know I did a research, and once you add the extension to this machine, it extends it to 850 millimeters. So that's, I think, 30 something inches. Yeah, that's 33.46 inches. So you would be able to do, I would say safely, you would be able to do a 16 by 32 square. But as far as a circle, if you're doing it oblong, you could make it bigger. But yeah, if you're wanting to do 17 to 19 inch and 22 to 24 inch circles, you're gonna have a hard time with any of the diode lasers that I'm aware of, unless Steve knows of something.
I was just trying to think through the geometry, depending on the design. You say wood door hangers. Yeah, I was going to say, if you can angle it in there, so you've got a little bit extra length, so you could, angle it and maybe squeeze in that extra half inch or so. But
yeah, with a circle,
that's one of the limitations there. Yep. I was going to say, my 60 watt CO2 is about 17 and a half, 18 inches by 28. And so
Yeah.
that would be pushing out there. That's where I'd be using the CNC machine.
Yeah. Or you do like I do when I'm doing 24-inch circles. I've got a 12-inch little thing that I made on the laser where you put a push pin in one end and a pencil in the other and just make a circle and take it over to the bandsaw or grab a jigsaw. That's how I do them. Yeah. That works for me. Yeah, 16.93 by 33.46, Brian. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking at going to. So we'll see. I'm gonna try that thing out. Let Steve know how it works. I'll be cutting out some massive signs. All right, so we're at an hour and 11 minutes.
There's some good news, and that's nice that Atezr got back to them. They're going to go ahead and replace that for you. And that's definitely nice to hear about places, because that's a concern of everyone, is will you actually get after support on products. Yeah. And when I did my Laser Master 3, I briefly had to talk with their support about a couple issues I was having, and they were fairly timely. Of course, you got the time delay, but I generally heard back within half a day or so, and it's great that they're going to replace that for you. So,
yeah, Penny, if you're going to be doing those door hangers, like I said, if you'll downsize them to 16, yeah, the Atezr would work. Especially, I don't know what kind of wood you're using, but I know this thing it'll blast 6mm MDF in one pass. And I've cut, like I said, this thicker plywood, any of the 1/4-inch plywood should be able to get with one pass. I wouldn't see, unless you get some of that crazy hard stuff that Steve finds. Then you might have to bear down a little bit more on it then, but I still think it would do it in one pass, because it'll cut. I can get it to cut through 1/2-inch cedar with 2 passes. So it's pretty powerful. But 16 inches, a lot of door hangers. I do those too. And I've had requests for 24-inch ones, and I've got 2 more over there already cut out that have nothing on them. But like I said, I just use a tool and make a circle and then cut it with a saw and try to smooth it out best I can with a sander. There you go, Steve. That's a question for you. Some more of your geek speak.
Yeah, I haven't done the latest firmware update. It's been cold, so I haven't wanted to spend the time out. So yeah, with my Onefinity, I upgraded it from the woodworker to the journeyman, which goes from like a 32-inch to a 48.5-inch wide, 49-inch wide gantry last year. But with that, I was also going to throw on a spindle that's controlled by a VFD, and then actually get that plugged in through another controller to have the speed controlled through it as well. So I have a lot of plans for that, but I haven't done that yet. Luckily, I have experience with Raspberry Pis. I've played around with them on a number of things. I built a Pi arcade with them and such. So, I mean, yeah, it's extra, and it can be a little unnerving. But the nice thing on them is that you can literally reflash them with an SD card. So you can screw it up, but usually you can recover it. You generally don't brick them, the hardware, by flashing them wrong. So, not that it can't happen, but yeah.
Let's fix that. You're going to say that, and then you're going to be like, "Hey guys, you can brick one."
Yeah, yeah. But no, I haven't been in a rush to do that just yet. We'll let it be a little more consistently warm out there.
I don't know what you're complaining about, Steve. It was like 70 degrees last week. I mean, it was nice. You still got snow on the ground up there?
Yeah, of course I got snow on the ground, but it did hit. You got into I think it hit 40 this weekend. It was sunny. It was warm.
Yeah, I think we're almost down to
t-shirts.
I think we're almost down to 40 now. Siri, what's the temperature outside? 45. So it's getting cold out there, Steve. That's why I got my hoodie back on. I have my t-shirt on.
Well, it's 31 up here, so I don't know what you guys are doing to make it that cold down there.
It's that wind blowing from up there. All those UFOs and stuff y'all got going on up there, pushing that weather this way, I guess.
Blame Canada.
I don't know what's wrong with y'all. Up there. Milwaukee will be 45 Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, we have rain in the forecast again, which yay, because it's warmer, but except for it's followed up with, I think, freezing weather again. So
yes, nice.
But,
all right, Michael, have a good day, man. Yeah, we done run over our time limit. We're just hanging out now at this point. 45 is shorts weather in the Great Frozen North.
it is.
No. I'm telling you guys, the humidity is different. It's different down here. I'm telling you. You know that Alabama is technically in a rainforest, right? I mean, technically, it's the only rainforest in North America is between Louisiana and Georgia. Siri, what's the humidity outside right now? I have just
on it.
Oh,
On it.
Siri don't even know. See, it's so high, Siri can't even find out.
Still
All
working.
right.
See, but
okay. The temperature here, like I said, it's right around 30 degrees. Would you like to take a guess at what our humidity is right now?
40%.
84.
84?
You got to remember, it was a sunny,
Wow.
warm day. It was melting all that snow, and all that moisture is now in the air, and it's a cold moisture.
Yeah. I could see
You also got to
that.
remember, we'll go out in shorts and a t-shirt in 45-degree weather because 2 weeks ago it was, 30 below wind chill. So that's like a 70-degree flipping temperature.
Oh no! Hey, now
Feels
you
pretty
do
good.
have some swings up there. I got to give you that. See, it's only 64% humidity here today, but it's because it's got cold. It did rain yesterday though. But no, it's just different, man. I went to New York one time and it was snowing and like 32 degrees, and I was in a t-shirt and I was like, "This is cool." But down here, 32 and snowing and it's rough. Maybe it's got something to do with the gravity. Who knows?
Yes, I do use VCarve Pro.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, for the CNC. And so this is the funny thing. So VCarve Pro is one of the more popular cam softwares for CNC, and so it costs, I think, the cheapest version is like $500 or $600, and then if you want the unlimited size, so that's like a desktop size, I think it limits you to 24 by 24, and if you want unlimited size for a larger CNC machine, you're paying $800, $900 for it. So when people complain about paying for Lightburn at $60 to $100, I kind of go, oh man, don't jump over into the CNC world. It'll hurt.
So you've been trying to talk me into it, and now you're telling me this.
Well, it's not cheap. There are other options. You can, to an extent, you can use Fusion 360, and that's got the stuff in it as well to be able to send to most encoders. But
how do you now? Because I just so happen to have gotten Fusion 360 after my free subscription ran out. I went ahead and bit the bullet. So I'm still learning, though. Still learning. Yeah, it would be nice if you could run a CNC with Lightburn. Then I wouldn't have to learn another software.
Well, I think the developers of Lightburn really want to focus on lasers. I mean, they fought the fiber laser thing for so long as well. So, but I hear that a lot, and I get it. People, they learn one software and they kind of want to stick with it. You get a lot of people that are using the Cricut software coming into the laser world, and like, can't I just use this other software? And so, it's tough to jump around a bit, but I'd rather have a software that's purpose built for it than something that's kind of jury rigged to make it work.
Fusion 360 is free. I'm not sure we're talking about the same one.
You can, with certain stipulations as far as.
because when mine ran out, I couldn't even open any of my blueprints to look at them and edit them or anything once my 30 days ran out. So I wound up buying it. It's the Autodesk Fusion 360.
Yeah, so you can get a 3-year term for personal use,
Mm-hmm.
but it has some limitations.
Yeah. But
Or
I
you
got
just
it
work
to
at a
where I can start
college.
doing. I got it to where I can start working, doing 3D printing as well. And I'm using on my woodworking projects to export like blueprints and stuff so that I can put them on the board for when somebody else is over here working instead of me. They can replicate my designs. So I don't know about making your designs public. I guess if you're using the free version, probably they would. But I know not on the paid packages. And they have a lot of add-ons too that you can do without or you can get. And each one of those little add-ons, that's another fee. So, but I'm still learning. I'm still training. I haven't decided to go public with any of my works yet. But
Hey, you
yeah,
just need to work at
Go ahead.
a college where you get access to most of that software.
Well, I worked at a college, but in the capacity that I worked at the college, they didn't think that something like that was doable. And I actually had to quit that about a year ago.
Well, actually, Autodesk, they moved to basically just they provide the licenses to educational institutions for free. So as long as you have a .edu email, you can actually go activate a 1-year license for most of their products. But again, that's within the realm of you're doing it for education and personal use. When you start actually producing things out there and selling it, then you are breaking those terms, and you should be.
Well, I
should be paying
figured
for
if
it,
I
so.
went to try, if I'm gonna be using it and doing YouTube videos about it, I probably just need to go ahead and pay for it. so, but it's really really handy for building designs and being able to test everything and basically print myself out a cut sheet. That's going to be one of the things that once I get my parts for my enclosure, I want to be able to try to put it together in the software, look at it, make sure everything fits, and then when I can come out here and I can just come out here and cut pieces of wood and stick them together. But anyway, yeah, 3D design it takes a minute to get your head wrapped around the way that the part moves, and it took me a few seconds to adjust. It took me like 2 days before I felt comfortable with kind of putting myself in the 3D space, I guess you could say. Coming from Lightburn, it was different.
See, and I'm just the opposite. I'm so used to working in 3D modeling like SketchUp and others that I shake my head when people say they design everything in Lightburn. I go, hey. I'd rather design in 3D and then export my flat files out into Lightburn. So just how my brain works.
Yeah, well, and see, I'm going right backwards from that. I'm working in a 2D software with Lightburn, but now I know I can actually design in Fusion and then export it as a laser file. And I've been playing around with that, so that way I can do like mock-ups and stuff like that. So I'm going to get the hang of it. It's coming. But yeah, that's the one thing that you want to make sure of too is like I said with Fusion, I wanted to make sure that if I'm using their product and they see it, I want to make sure I'm paying for it and all that good stuff, so they don't try to get mad at me for using a trial or whatever. But yeah, I like the 3D. I just like being able to paint the thing and make it look like it's wood and look at it before I burn it. I mean,
yeah, my enclosure design, I had 3 or 4 revisions mocked up in 3D before I cut one piece of wood. Just doing it all, mocking it up, laying it out, seeing how things fit, seeing how they look like they may. It's a little bit of that looks about right engineering at that point because you're modeling it and you don't have necessarily like the X tool laser or whatever in there, but yeah, it helps avoid some waste, and then also it's nice because you can use it for documentation. I used a lot of 3D models in my plans for that. So
Yeah. Well, I was actually considering building a just a rough like dimensional like figure basically to use as the laser, complete with where the ports come out and all that, so that I can align everything. Oh, but that's going to be a lot of work. So I may wind up just throwing some plywood in here and going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway. Oh, Groove. I think they're talking to you
yeah,
about
Brian,
the CNCs there.
a few years ago when I was at Rockler, they talked about a CNC guild group. So I don't know if that's the same one. I thought they were meeting on Thursdays or something, and I'm not sure that I ever was able to make it up that way. But that was at I think that was out of the Burnsville Rockler there. But yeah, it's always fun. I actually, the Minnesota Woodworkers Guild does an expo, and they're moving it to the Canterbury Downs place to have more space. And one of the guys on there keeps bugging me about coming up there and doing some laser demos in the Meet the Maker group. And I may or may not do that. I'm not sure. We'll see. It's in October, and I got some time. But some of those meetups are fun. Get together with other people doing similar stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we've got one coming up in September that we'll be doing here locally. Myself and a whole bunch of other folks from the area are going to be at a little local. It's basically like a local outdoor nursery, flower shop. I mean, they do all kinds of stuff, but we got it coming up in September. I think May is going to be there, and a bunch of other channels from around my area. So that's going to be cool. You should come down. Jump in your car and just drive down, Steve.
It's about 16 hours, I think.
Yeah, a couple of monsters, a cup of coffee. You'll make it. But anyway, yeah. I guess everybody's questions are over. It's just us jack-jawing now at this point. Did anybody, is that game over? Does anybody know?
No, it's almost the end of the third, and Philadelphia is leading 27-21.
Okay.
So says NFL.com.
Hey, Norbert's going to have his machine back before we end our live, guys.
There you go.
He's gonna have his machine back before we get through the live. They're doing pretty good. Apparently they or is it Tour? Apparently they do a really good job. Yeah, that's kind of the way I am, Steve or Brian. I don't partake of a whole lot of sports, to be honest with you, until Steve messaged me the other night and was like, "Hey, you do know the Super Bowl's on, right?" And I was like, "Sure, yeah, I knew that." But,
well, I mean, that's because I kind of realized I knew it was today, but I haven't watched it in years, really. And I was like, isn't that more middle of the day? I was just surprised how late it was, but it is in Arizona and everything. And so, prime time, all that stuff.
I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but it was a couple of years ago that if I were ever going to become a professional athletics fan, there was a few things that happened a couple of years ago that kind of pushed me away from ever becoming a fan of any of them. Just because. But we're not going to get into the politics of it. But y'all know what my line of work is, and y'all can put two and two together. So there you are. Somebody's watching the game. Steve's got a split screen going on over there, Jack. Don't let him. If you look real careful in his glasses, you can see it up there.
It's only 40-inch TV. That's all.
Yeah. Well, see, here at the Clack Shack, we can't have 40-inch TVs because that takes up 40 inches of wall space. So, yeah. Free CAD. Yeah, I tried the free CAD. I just couldn't get it to work for me. I played with all of them, free CAD, Tinkercad, all the CADs that I could find, and Fusion was the only one that I could actually make headway in. And so that's why I decided to go that route.
So there's someone commented on the sweatshirt earlier. So this is, where is it? I Like to Make Stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're a channel I've followed for a number of years and still do. Actually part of their Patreon as well. And they have a Fusion 360 for Makers course that I was able to get a deal on. And I really should go back and actually finish it. because they do a pretty good job kind of walking you through the stuff, and they do a lot with both lasers and CNC. So they start talking about, you're going to design it, there's some good ways on then, starting to export it and such. So, but there's also a lot of free resources out there, YouTube with all us crazy people putting content out there. It's pretty easy to learn just about anything, not necessarily the right way, but you'll learn a way to do stuff. So.
Yeah, I'm starting to pick up light burn. It's taken me a while, but I've got to where I actually the other day, guys, I have been trying my best to figure out breaking lines and like reattaching them. It's always gave me a hard time for some reason. But I did my last the template that I did for the Atezr. I actually was able to break and reconnect lines and it was pretty good. Your design is not held hostage to. Well, now, Mark, I was able to open the design and I could print what I had already done, but I wanted to go in and add some more views because when I built the blueprint, I had left off a couple of views and didn't know what the measurements were, and it wouldn't let me edit it. So, that was kind of on me, I guess, because I didn't lay out the blueprint as well as I should have in the beginning. But it's okay now because I've got my license now. Everything's unlocked and able to edit, and I can go in and fix it when I need to. So all good. It just took me a little bit of purchasing. That's all. All right. Well, it looks like everybody's getting quiet. They're all watching this game. It's after halftime now, third quarter. Everybody wants to know what's going on. Check out Vericad. Yeah, well, it's going to be a little while before I swap softwares, guys, because since I've kind of bought into this one, I'm going to at least get my money's worth before I go to get another one. And I'm still waiting on a 3D printer. Just like everything else, Steve has tried to talk me out of getting a 3D printer. But I can't decide what I want. There's so many of them out there. The price variations and just I don't know. I want to get one I don't want to get one that's going to make me want to throw it out a window, but I do want to get one. I'm just trying to figure out what exactly it is that I need for me. The easier to work, the better. I don't know if that's good or not. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Sounds like the Eagles are winning, but
yeah, I mean the Ender series, the Ender 3 Pro is probably the most popular one. It's fairly inexpensive. I'm not going to say that it's problem free, but if you run into a problem, you're going to probably find a solution or 10 from various people online because it's so popular. Of course, the Prusa is kind of like your standard, and you can get that, but they start around $800, but they're generally considered the most problem-free. But I'm trying to remember, a friend of mine just recently got one that's it was on a Kickstarter, and it's supposed to be a lot faster, and the name is escaping me right now. But there's always advancements there as well.
Longer was the name of the one company that reached out to me back around Christmas, but then they, I don't know what happened to them. I'm hoping for a video of Christmas trees.
I've got one of Longer's resin printers, so I'm familiar with that.
Hey, Ollie, that's a very simple build, to be honest with you. It was a bunch of wood that I cut 45s on, and I just made a pedestal and shot some staples in them and put them together. I guess I could make another video. It's not really Christmas right now. I could make an Easter tree, I guess. But I didn't make a video of that, Bill, because I didn't really think nobody would like it. I'm glad somebody did. $6.99 is the cream of the crop. Carbon. Bamboo Labs P1. Now, Brian, are you saying this because you have one, or I mean, what are we basing this on? Because what is it, Ender 5 and Ender 7? I've been seeing a lot of videos about them. And then they have the Pro. Then they got like so many different like offshoots of the Ender 3. It ain't even funny. Carbon's over $1,100. I ain't buying that much until I see if I'm good at it or not. You stick with lasers. Not a laser design. No, that's not a laser design, Ollie. That was a chop saw set to 45 and some scrap lumber that I had laying around. I had a photographer sent me a picture she found on Pinterest or somewhere of basically somebody else's photo setup. And she's like, hey, I want 3 of these trees. And so I had some real thin 3/8 inch pine that I had cut for some siding. And I just put it in a chop saw and cut them at 45s, took another piece of wood, set it as a center, and just stacked them and shot staples through them. So it wasn't a laser project. I do a lot of actual woodworking projects too. That's how the laser thing began in my shop. Was I bought the laser so that I could burn my logo on woodworking projects, and then the laser just kind of took a whole life of its own, and I started making more money using the lasers than I did doing woodworking, and so then I incorporated my woodworking into custom laser pieces, and now I just stay really, really busy. I got this big dry erase board over here that is slowly filling up with orders. So I'm gonna get caught up one day. I'm gonna take some vacation, get caught up.
I get yelled at when I do that.
Yeah. Now I could build a design like that on a laser, but it would be limited to a 16 by 16 or so. But I could build a design in the laser software for that. Huh. Now the laser. Now in the laser. Oh, got into it because of me. Well, don't blame me because it gets expensive. I'll throw that out there. Oh, because you're gonna be like, man, I got a laser. Now I got to have this. Now I got to have that. And now I got to have this. And I'm at the point now where I got to have a bigger building, guys. And you don't want to know how much that's going to run me. I'm just hoping that I can get it by the time I retire.
Workshop's never big enough. Today.
Yeah, my next one is going to be substantially larger than this one. And me and my wife just had the discussion today about summer's coming, and it gets up to about 130 in here in the summertime. So all this exposed tin that you see up top, sometime between now and about April, I've got to get some insulation, and I've got to insulate it, and I've got to seal this thing up, and I'm going to put me in luckily I've got a brother-in-law that does AC, so I'm going to put me in a mini split so that I can have some air conditioning out here, which coincidentally now the mini split will also do heat as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to save my pennies for that right now. But
yeah, I built my garage 14 years ago, and it hasn't seen a car in most of those years. But when I built it, it was planned to house a couple of cars and have a small workbench, and now it is completely overtaken by woodworking gear and CNC machines and lasers and other things. And I really wish I would have done. I should. I keep threatening to throw in a mini split because it would be less expensive to heat and cool. But maybe we'll see. Maybe this summer I'll get that done. But either way, come July, I'll be out in the shop. It'll be a little warm, but it won't be 130.
Oh no, dude! I will show you if I'll have to show you. But seriously, well, the tin roof, the behind me faces south. Now, when I put the wall boards up, there's no insulation behind those boards. There's just tin on the other side of those boards because this was literally where I kept my tractor and my boat back when I had a boat and stuff like that. So I decided to make it into a shop. I got my sawmill and I milled those boards and put back there on the wall. But there's no insulation in there at all. There's just tin on the outside of it. And I don't want to go dump a whole bunch of money and try to insulate the whole building, because I do have a plan, hopefully within, I'm going to say 3 years, maybe 5 at the most, just above here where my chicken pen is. I'm going to relocate the chicken pen this summer. My chicken pen's getting moved over to the other side of the house on the other hill near the bees. And once I get the chicken pen moved, I've got to start cutting some trees and clearing the property. And I'm going to get a buddy to come in with his bulldozer and just grade everything for me. And I'm going to try to go ahead and get it prepped for building. And I'm hoping that the building can be maybe like a 30 by 60 is what I'm hoping. I don't know if it'll fit, but if I can get rid of enough of those trees, maybe it will. And then if I can do that, I want to have woodworking area, laser working area, and then of course like a, just a little office type space, maybe, a studio, so to speak, to where I can do my computer work, keep up with my books for the business and stuff like that. And if I need to, if a wife kicks me out, I can crash there for a day or two. But anyway. After I bought a few, I've got myself a few days. The Valentine's Day gift was a hit, so I'm good for now. As long as I can remember the anniversary and all that, I think I'll be good. We'll work
so
for
you got to be
gear.
like me. I can forget the birthday, but I won't forget the anniversary because it's 3 days later.
Yeah, well, my anniversary is 2 days before my birthday, and that was intentional.
Mm-hmm.
My wife's birthday is actually Christmas, so that one's pretty easy to keep up with. So I think I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be all right. But spare bedroom, slowly taking over the game room. Yeah, I don't have a spare bedroom currently. I have one young adult and one kid that still lives with me. So right now, there are no rooms at the inn. I have a Creality CR10 Smart. Yeah, I've heard of those, but I haven't. Like I said, I'm still kind of up in the air over what kind of machine I want to get. But I'm gonna be getting one soon, hopefully. All right, guys, it's an hour and 42 minutes. We have went way over our allotted time. Oh, and it's starting to get cool out here, Steve. I've got my little propane patio heater over there going. But anyway, if you haven't, guys, hit that like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. I hate saying that because it's just so cliche. But realistically, guys, it does help us if y'all hit the bell, if y'all hit the subscribe button. It does help keep the lights on here at the Clack Shack. So if you're interested in the content or some of the videos that we have, just hey, keep coming back, keep hitting that button, and we'll keep doing them. Because we were kind of up in the air over whether to reschedule tonight, but I'm glad we didn't. Because and if you haven't joined our group too, you got the link for that one still?
Yeah, I just dropped the link in both. I put it in both YouTube.
Is that the
ones.
group? Yeah, we've got our laser community group, which is basically just the guys that come here. Y'all can share what you've made, what you've done, kind of chit chat back and forth. Make fun of me. That seems to be a thing where you can say that I look like a soap opera person. Compliment Steve on his wardrobe. Whatever you want to do. So yeah, just go hit them like buttons, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you haven't already subscribed to Steve or me or whichever, do us a favor and hit us both up because we got really lucky this time, guys, and I think a lot of it has to do with you guys. But we both got the same offer from Atezr, like what, almost the same day, wasn't it? Like, was it the same day?
I think I sent you a note and you're like, hey, look at this. So yeah, it was within hours. They had sent those out to us as far as the invites. So that was cool. It's been nice to get the same machine, be able to compare notes. I was just getting caught up with my Jacoda machine, but I'll be getting some content out on the Atezr this week as well. And so definitely, it's great to be able to get that feedback and when they see that interaction as well. We share it here, we share it in the Facebook group, we share it on our YouTube videos and such, and that's what they're looking for is conversation and information about their machines. And we like tearing apart and showing you guys what they can do with the good, bad, and the ugly. And
and a lot of times too, I mean, it helps a lot of these guys. It helps you decide on what kind of machine do you want. So that's that's big to me, especially if it's somebody that I can trust, like Steve. If I ask Steve, hey, what do you think about this machine? Is it worth it? Being able to have somebody that you kind of is not going to just be blowing smoke trying to sell you something. And that's what me and Steve try to provide for you guys. And then if you have problems, just like tonight, we were talking about the cable management on that Atezr. If you have problems or if you have questions, a lot of times maybe we can share some light on that. So that's what it's all about. But the likes, subscribes, follows, bells, all those things are what makes that possible. So keep them coming, guys.
Yep.
Hello there, Renee. Renee's one of our local folks. She does like these ring things, something that most of us probably don't know nothing about. But Renee's a cool lady, though. She's cool. She works at the post office, so when I ship things, I get to see her. Steve helped me decide 3 weeks ago on the Atezr Clack. Yeah, well, I just got my hands on it, but I'm keeping it. So I saw if I'm keeping it, then it must be pretty decent because, I make my money with these machines. So I haven't dealt with Atezr on service, but apparently, according to Norbert, the Atezr has good service.
Yeah, no, I've heard generally good things about them on that. Like I said, my minimal interaction with them was more on long tech support. I didn't need to have anything replaced, but they helped me get a couple things lined up on my LaserMaster 3. So, yeah, I definitely would echo that to my extent that they do give some after support, and it's not the first time I've heard them actually replacing parts for people as well. So that's
cool.
That's a big thing in my book is, what they do when things don't go well, or when they go above and beyond to make things right for people. So
oh yeah, well, Renee says she shared us out to her groups. She's got a lot of groups and a lot of ladies that watch YouTube and Facebook, so forth. So Steve, I feel pretty confident you're gonna get some more compliments, either on the hoodie, the hat, the well manicured beard you have. Or there's going to be some compliments for you somewhere out there, I'm sure. So y'all keep him smiling.
Making me seem vain there.
Hey, next time we have a live, he's gonna be like in a tux. He's gonna have what's the little cummerbund or whatever, Yeah, we're gonna get you all dressed up for the next live, Steve.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I just gotta wear something. I just gotta wear something other than my orange hoodie. But I like my orange hoodie. It goes. Look, it matches the glasses, guys. I mean, it's the whole thing. It matches the glasses. That's what it's all about. So anyway, that's fun. I like messing with Steve. Yeah, I like messing with Steve. And when I'm sawmilling, it matches my sawmill. I mean, it matches my Kubota tractor. I mean, it's all about being coordinated with your colors. All right. Yes, Steve is. I mean, does Steve not look like he should be teaching at a university somewhere, like applied? Let's like maybe like I don't know, rocket propulsion or some kind of applied science or something. I mean, he does, doesn't he?
I'll take my community college over university any day. You have a nicer mix of everything, You got everything from welders to nurses to computer programmers, everything. So,
well, one of these days, I have made it my mission that one of these days, hopefully within the next year, maybe either I can come up to Minnesota and like help shovel some snow, or maybe help you like improve on your snowblower, and you can come down here in about July or August and run a sawmill. That would be an awesome video. You here, middle of July, milling wood.
Here's the thing. I think if you came up here middle of July, you'd be surprised just at how warm and humid it is. Still, yeah, no.
We'll have a sweat off. We'll have a sweat off in July.
No, we'll see. Maybe not July, but there might be something that drags me down your neck of the woods in this year. So we'll see. We may have a different spin on live that week.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't call me Gilligan. Some of these guys don't even know what you're talking about there, Norbert, Brian. But might be cooler there in July. It's not going to be cooler here in July. I can promise you that. I can promise you. All right, guys. Take it easy. Oh, that's enough. I got to get all this stuff cleaned up, get my Atezr up out the floor before somebody steps on it. But till next time, y'all be safe. Same time, same channel next week. Maybe there won't be any big ball games going on or anything. So have a good night. You can
We'll see
say
y'all.
whatever, Steve. All right.